Hello and welcome back to a personal code of conduct. The audio is not going to be this good today because I'm not in the mood to do the towel thing and I'm still going with the phone. But I'm okay, not I promise. I don't want to make any stupid promises, but like by next week and another reason why I'm just like loud, my roommate moved out because like Unilag Unilag is asking like ask the students to go back home. So like I have the whole space to myself, and I'm like, space. I can be weird, but like for somehow it has sort of killed my motivation to work out because usually I leave my room to work out because she's like sleeping around the time when she's working where I want to work out, and I'm like I can turn on the lights at 4 a.m. and work out because like the one person I'd be bothering isn't here. Nope, I didn't do that. But then again, I have chronic back pain. I sometimes I wonder if it's because like my barbell I currently use a little too heavy, but I don't think so because I've always had back pain. I suspect it's like when I was like 7, I got hit by a bike, by an Okada, like all those tiny motorcycles, and never told anybody. So I probably have a cracked tailbone. One of these days I'll go to the hospital. What else? Yes, we were going to talk about existential dread and existentialism in general because people just used to throw that word around. And if anything I've learned in business writing, contextual vocabulary or is like very dangerous vocabulary because they're using the language in terms of like the context you feel it was used, and speaking English is almost always rubbish. I said always or almost always, like speaking English is almost always rubbish because like you figure out what you want to say, you figure out the vibe you want to say by their tone, by their delivery, by their energy. You know what they want to say, like you feel what they want to say, but that may not be what the word means. Then you'll be walking around the rest of your life using it completely wrong way. So like we're talking, I think I'm going to scratch the surface. Like this is called the personal code of conduct, but like I spend it just touching topics, and also I'm going to make actual efforts to like, what's the word, to properly advertise this podcast. Properly advertised. I wonder if you can hear the church in my background. It's like fucking 2 o'clock already. Like they started service since like even the Anglican church opposite me, not like this church, they've had like 3 services. Well, this one is still having their one single service from like, what's my own business? I'm not the one. This is why you're going to hell, Dio. Yeah, I was going to talk about existentialism, and I also was going to talk about my drawing plans. I think this time is real because now I have like reasonable money, and I have like somebody who wants to like add money to it. Gaia is getting a graphic tablet. I will know by this by this time upper week. You know that I'm just spreading boo because I probably would have completed a drawing. I'm so excited that I thought I wouldn't be doing it, that I end up like doing the ginger nonsense. But like I've completed a reference, like my reference board, like on Pinterest. I've gotten like, okay, I'm going to get a pure another reference board soon, but I have like a Pinterest board. I have like Orishirishi. I have like sorted into like human references, into like semi-realistic art inspiration. And I'm going to talk about my analytic process towards creation that I have decided on. As the one thing, I always have a proper roadmap. Whether or not I end up using it is up to like the time and place. But like I always like have a proper like relatively feasible roadmap. So if I ever like squash the spirit of procrastination and I'm able to start, I usually go pretty far because like I spend so many times like analyzing and preparing like steps for my hiccups and what have you. I'm not going to deny it. I'm going to be a fucking tracer. Let me show you, because I have a perfectionist problem. I know this is before we start talking about existential dread. This is just the intro where I just like give the download of like what's currently going on in our life. I have this thing where something is ugly, when something is not well done, I get very disappointed in myself. And the whole tendency is now to go like not try. But like I have decided that just make the plan elaborate and like if you find yourself as an overthinker, just make sure that if you find yourself as an overthinker, just make sure that keep on. If you think of everything that goes wrong, make sure you think of immediately how you're going to fix it. You can't just like dwell on, okay, this could possibly go wrong. You have to like figure it out on the spot and decide that, okay, this is what I'm going to do to fix it. Then the next thing I'd say is okay, let me lay out the plan. I've gotten my references down. Oh god. And I think that I wish it's going to tie into my future like creative stress relief plan of getting an actual camera, because I swear god, Nigerians are just gorgeous. I'm Nigerian. But like because if you look objectively, I don't think we have the same problem. I think personally, there's one thing I need to, when I'm saying like objectively, it's actually more of a subjective thought process, because I keep remembering from my childhood, I wasn't affected by the whole light skin marketing or anything. It never affected me as a person or as a human being. But like apparently it affected a lot of people in my society. So I remember my opinion is very subjective to my own experiences and what have you. But like I think I don't think Nigerians have the thing where celebrities are like so unattainably attractive because like they have surgeries and what have you. Like in my opinion, I know people have started having BBLs have become like popular, but like because like we like human being with like incredible, I won't say we, because my aesthetic is more like real thin. Even though I'll never look like that, not like real thin like hungry, but like those girls with like tiny skeletons, they're so nice to look at. Like, and I like the fact that I don't see I'm fine with what I see in the mirror, and I feel like okay, my aesthetic is like moving towards like a handsome woman vibe. That is my personal aesthetic. I'm probably not pronouncing it correctly, but who cares? That's my own personal vibe. But like all those girls are just not real thin. I'd say small boned because they have flesh on them, they're healthy. Real, like when somebody's real thin, you're just worried if they're alive or something. But like girls with like small bones and young teens and teens generally, they just have this vibe of like into the wind. When somebody's sickly, like it's real thin, especially if they have like actual big bones. Oh my god, it's very disturbing. But like people with small bones just give you the vibe like, oh my god, you should be on a flower somewhere. Cute. But as I was saying with Nigerians, I say that like the average Nigerian is just like just go on the road. I think, oh god, like I think people are just gorgeous, like in comparison to people I see in movies, or maybe the camera work they use or the focal points they use in Nigerian movies are just terrible. Because I noticed that when I want to take a picture of someone, they hardly ever look like what I want them to look like. And then I realized that when I finally had an opportunity to change focal length, I realized that, oh, okay, different people need different focal lengths. And it also brings up the question that do we even like see people the same way? Because if you're looking at different focal lengths, people look completely different. And in my opinion, you have like most attractive at a certain focal length. That's like, but like your face looks different in different focal lengths. I think I'm starting to confuse myself, but like it'd be fine. But like the whole thing was like me just going to take like pictures of random people. God, like if you just go out, especially like just go outside, I just see some people like I won't say they're beautiful. I say they have very interesting faces. Some people are just like exterior, and some people are just gorgeous and like, why the fuck are you broke? You have an opportunity to just be beyond this world. Poverty is just an annoyance because you're unable to afford to take care of yourself. Poor engineer / data scientist here. But like, oh god, if I finally have money, I'd be fresh to death and I'd lean into my whole like gothic vampire Liberian handsome. Okay, I'd be a handsome deeper life Liberian who likes silk and is also strictly a vampire. And Oxford. Oh god, I can totally wait for Oxford. But like my creative process, like I've gone like convoluted 360 and I still haven't mentioned my creative process. Okay, references first. Second, grid paper. Fuck, because I'm going to trace. I'm not even going to fucking unite. I am going to trace. I am going to trace. I know that tracing will prevent you from improving and what have you, but like I want to draw semi-realistic. So I want people to be able to recognize that that is me, but I don't want to put all the details. Like I don't want to draw, like that's the problem I have with a lot of like 3D art, and I don't think I want to have 3D art. I found this one artist, I think she's called Fightback. Her general vibe is not my style, but there's this one like it's very raunchy, so to speak. But like I like I picture people in my head just like vibing and chillaxing, and I don't really see them as like sexual beings, but like that's her vibe, that's her energy, and that's like cool for her. But there's this one particular photo, like it wasn't a photo drawing that she had or they had. I don't know what like I don't know like who Fightback is exactly. Um that they had, and it was like, oh god, god, like in the person it was a warrior with gold dreadlocks, and I was like, this is how I want to draw. I am burning this image into my mind, even though when I didn't know her name, I didn't know her energy. And lately I've been rediscovering artists that like I just like your style and I want to photocopy it. And I think I'm not intending to make a living from art. Art is meant to be stress relief, and I like order, I like perfection. Ignore the fact that I haven't done this week's laundry, and I have not like fucking I just basically, other than like when I'm performing tasks, I like order, I like structure, I like things arranged. Even when I was forming spontaneous human being in secondary school, I like order when I'm performing tasks. But like when it comes to my personal being, let chaos reign. But like when I'm performing a task, I like order. I think order is relaxing when you're performing tasks. But like when you just want to vibe and like melt on a chair, that'd be great. That's how I'll probably end up talking the entire like 30 or 40 minutes and not even touch existentialism. But like I probably will, because it's just going to touch, and I'm going to talk about like how like that stuff made me feel. Now back to the creative process. So I'm going to trace. Next, I'm going to use grid paper. Not like grid. I'm going to grid the drawing, and I'm going to use a like. That's one thing I noticed about like my learning structure. Like I learned by copying. I learned by copying. Then look for a particular skill. Like the thing is that I like technique, and I can't really like, even though like for somebody in, I keep saying like, for somebody in my mind, they might just make the assumption that I'm the kind of human being that, because I go on long, dramatic, like fantasy visions. I move, I run, it's just a vibe. I need open space to fucking run. But like I have this whole like, but the thing is I cannot see clearly what I'm imagining. I just feel the energy. Do you get? I know what I'm imagining, but I don't have a distinct like imagination or anything. I can't. It's very, I can't. If you say like visualize an apple, I ain't visualizing the apple. I can feel like, yes, this is an apple, but like I can't see it. Do you get? But I don't think it's like, I think I'm like mind blind, but not like full of fantasia. Definitely not full of fantasia, because there's so many more details in my mind, like the energy, the air. Oh god, and I think I can imagine smell. But like sight, not really. But like you just know, I know I have a vibe that I'm going for, but I just can't see it. I just don't have the image. So it's like that's why I feel like I'm going to be reference heavy. Then I got this tutorial, that this tutorial stuck in my head for years, and I refound it because I just know if it's going to stick to your head for years, you're not that special. Human beings are not that special. It's going to stick into the heads of other people. So when I searched for it, I relatively easily found it. Even Fightback, it wasn't when I was even looking for Fightback. It was just a coincidence. And I was like, I'm so happy. But like I swear this is just the intro. Creative process. So like I'm going to use that like technique learning of transferring facial features and simplifying them, but also using grid paper to ensure that what's the word? Like no, it's not really about transferring facial features, it's about recognizing the important facial features. Then I'm going to use like grid lines to properly copy the facial features. Oh god, I love grid lines. I just love it. Tracing and grid lines. Then for bodies, obviously I'm going to trace. Then as I'm doing that, because I feel like tracing and copying will give me the opportunity to, what's the word, create relatively satisfactory art, because I want to do, like, the problem with perfectionism is that you have this constant need to perform at 100% even though you know nothing about something. That's why I like having dramatic action plans, that I know that even if I know I'm like, by being a realistic person, I'm able to cut myself some slack, and I understand that, okay, um within, I should get like 70% following my action plan. But I will use, because I literally re-downloaded Lumis books. Like, also, quick heads up about Lumis. Just know that it focuses on like Caucasian individuals, and anytime it does mention people of other races, it's very cartoony, and even it's even more, it's like caricature. It's like his art. Like, I like the way he looked at this person he was drawing. He gave like the vibe that he really looked. Just know that that doesn't apply to black people with like. But then again, it's like 1940s. Unfortunately, I just have to accept it like that. But I feel like I have this ambitious project in my head where I like do the whole Loomis thing again from the beginning to the end. But like, I'm not selling the book. That's the one thing. I think understanding why I don't feel bad about tracing and my grade paper and whatever, because I do not intend to make a career out of art. I'm incredibly satisfied with my data analytics on towards data sciences and eventual consulting action plan that I have made out for myself I really need to like put that down. I'm very satisfied with that in a career perspective. So like, I want to create something that is just so fun to do and keep to myself, because sometimes I just stare at images, like especially artwork that I like, and I'm just like, what if I created them? Like, don't what if go and fucking create them. Oh my god, this is the longest intro. Maybe I'll move the existentially thread to next week, but like, nah, I'll soon be done, probably like 20 minutes. Then I'll probably talk about existentialism on 20 minutes and then be like, oh my god, this was a 50-50 episode. Who cares? Oh yeah, and I'm going to make like actual effort into. I feel very energetic because I don't know. I'm just like very energetic, and I'm going to waste money by so yeah, money I don't have. I just spent like. Let's not talk about that. Anyways, so after I finish drawing on the grid paper, like, it's not I'm drawing on a grid paper. I'll do like grid on Krita. I can't afford Photoshop, so obviously Krita is the way. I'll do a drawing on Krita. I'll do the drawing on Krita. Then once I put on grid also on Krita. Then I'll like take tutorials on color and everything. I feel like I should be able to create like a drawing of 70% satisfaction. Obviously, my lack of technique, knowledge, and know-how is not going to be there. But I feel like I can use like practice with Loomis anatomy lessons like constantly, and it's going to encourage me because I like to do split screen. So it's probably going to encourage me to do more data analytics projects when I get sick of like drawing, like personal data science projects when I get sick of drawing and read more notebooks and what have you. What else? I think I'm fine. So like as I do that as a 70% something, because I like the way Loomis draws heads. Like Andrew Loomis draws heads. Like, I just love it. So it's like because a lot of that's the main problem I have with like modern like hyper realistic even semi-realistic, they all have the exact same head type. Nobody's bothering to change the shape of the head, and I hate it so much. It's like they just have like one anime character that they are just like aggressively shaded, and I'm like, this is gorgeous, but I want somebody who draws individual faces. I don't want when style becomes same face syndrome. But then again, same face syndrome can have a level of subjectiveness. I don't know, me, get it? Have a level of subjectiveness or subjectivity if you are looking at, because you can make some slight changes that, okay, you'll be like, in the context of this like anime character, this is a completely different human, or in the context of this cartoonish character, it's a completely different human. But like, if that's like, I want semi-realism to just be like, this is a different person, I know who this is. Like, that's the reason why that like reference tutorials just stayed in my mind, because it was one of the main character in The Mentalist, Benedict. Then the other drawing was Benedict Cumberbatch, and there was the third guy, I don't know, but like, if you've seen this person before and you see this drawing, even though it's a very simple drawing, you're like, I know this person. You're not like, yeah, I know this person. And that's how I want to draw. I don't want to do like the hyper shading, realistic, capture the essence of your soul. I just want you to know it's you. And that's the reason I really like that, like, fight back drawing. It looks like a real person. Who? I don't know. And I know eventually I'm going to have to, like, create new people, but, like, I want to draw, like, actual people and draw them in fantasy settings and draw them doing fun things. So I feel like I'm probably going to have to, like, live with, like, Pinterest references for now. But, like, it's going to be so fun when I finally first I need, like, the courage to um randomly walk up to hot people on the street and be like, can I take a picture of you, or can I take video footage of you, or like, or people dress nice, because there's some people that, yeah, they're just regular looking, but like the way they drape their outfits on their body, they're just like, just to die for. I swear Nigerians are just a fucking vibe. So that has been the intro. I should now actually talk about what I said I was going to talk about this episode, which is existentialism. Dio is going to, what's the word? Dip a finger into existentialism and find out the correct use of the word term existential dread. And that has been the intro. So the I just listened to the audio and putting a wrapper over my speaker, trying to form like the foam condenser was the dumbest decision ever. Dio, do not learn. But like I said before, the audio is going to be crappy, and me not even, you probably hear church in the background in this one. So we'll be going onto the what's the word? The internet, and we'll be looking for like, I had a couple of pages saved for like existentialism and whatever, but I can't find them anymore. And we'll be back to like our trashy podcast in which Dio reacts to what's the word? She reacts to Wikipedia pages. Oh yeah, I did. Did I download a couple of books on existentialism? I probably did. And first, let me define existential. Google do that for me. Existential, define. Relating to existence. Okay. Okay, and then existential dread, define. Questioning your purpose in life. Existential crisis. Wherever. I think I passed through this phase in my life because I know it comes up periodically because I face like different challenges and I'm like, okay, fuck this shit. Why do I have to exist? And I've come up with the position that I don't know why I am to exist, but I do know that I do not want to suffer for one. I do understand that I live in a society and my wants and my personal needs are insignificant and I need to accept that fact. So I feel like I've gone past my, I think like 3 existential crises, and I've come up with like different answers every time, but they work and they keep me sane for the time being until I meet another obstacle and I have a sit down with myself and I decide, okay, this is how I'm getting out of it. But like I still have cracks in my assumed personal values. This is called a personal code of conduct, and my own like identification of my own identity, because sometimes I just want to lay down, read fan fiction. Like I literally have Coursera courses. I feel I take Coursera for granted because I didn't pay for it. I think I mentioned it before. And I'm going to actually take efforts into leaving this podcast as YouTube comments. Oh my god, I'm going to be that cringy person. Like, there was like 3 or 5 listeners. Like, why? Like, my question with the desire for growth is like, what do I really want to do? Do I really need growth, or am I just an attention whore? Because I have had a conversation with the possibility of fame, because I do like possible scenarios in my mind, and I understand that fuck no, I don't think I'd handle fame well. But then again, I've been able to handle tax characters and be like in my opinion, a generally likable person for several individuals. I think it'll be fine. I'll just write my test. I hope I get like, as per like second to last test, I get like a decent score. Let's go on to the existentialism. what it is as a theory. It's a form of philosophical inquiry that explores the problem of human existence and centers on the experience of thinking, feeling, and acting. Blah 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 blah. In the view of the existentialist, the individual starting point has been called the existential angst, a sense of dread, disorientation, confusion, and anxiety in the face of apparently meaningless or absurd world. Thank you and welcome to a personal code of conduct. And like I said before, you can't follow one philosophical concept like Stoicism since you have to decide what you're going to. And I think eventually I will play back these things and write a proper handbook, or maybe even like do a rehash. Like after I do a playback, see that you're making plans and be like, I no longer believe this. I retract that statement. Existentialism is associated with blah 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 blah, some random old people concepts. I feel like human beings have been existential from the like beginning of time. I feel everybody is existential, but some people are better at like drowning it in other concepts and what have you, in like drowning the feeling and just moving. That's one thing. I think how I even found like existentialism is like understand. I had so like 2 second rant or 10 second rant complaining about the church, but there's one thing I need to say is that religion gives people purpose. It gives people direction. It gives people a place to vent their anger. But if somebody is unfortunate to not like be in their innate person not being like part of the doctrines of the religion that they've chosen to like pour all their hearts to, a religion that was poured into them from childhood, can really lead to like mental damage. Like people who consider themselves like not like straight in almost any religion of the world, they either try to make sense of the religion, lie to themselves, change the doctrines or what have you, or they like fuck it, I'm not doing religion, because what they're supposed to find solace and like, because as a human being, oh god, human beings, as much as I say throw the entire species away, we are just a fucking vibe. Like imagine, like I think that's one of the reasons why I spent my whole time as a child being like, I am like, I was like, I just have to be the only person. You know when you just realize that I think, like, I just like, I have to be the only person. And I think I went through this whole couple of months of just being like, nothing bothers me because I'm the only real person. And I'm like, oh my god, what a selfish little twat. But the key takeaway is understanding that, and when you understand that like there are a lot of other humans and they compose of almost the same hardware as you, but they have like completely different experiences, nutritions, vibes, and cultural settings, and just like, fuck, our species is so fucking cool. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't throw the whole species away. But oh god, that first section of me deciding to do something fucking stupid and putting cloth over my mic is still paining me because there's a lot of in the background, but like, what else? This is probably not the episode for me to go around sending places, but I'll be putting comments. So where was I? Yeah, I was talking about what even brought me, because religion kind of provides an answer. Like, that's one thing I don't like about people, and I think because I had that moment so young, it helps me grow out of it like into a more stable individuals. Because have you not met individuals who act like they found the truth of life, and everybody who doesn't think the same way as them is beneath them? I'm so glad like I had that phase like so young and understanding the separate of myself. But like at that point, at that like young age in life, I did not understand that other individuals like also had like this entire world in their head. And it's like, I think it's easy to belittle people who believe in religion, people who fight for their religion, judge for their religion, humiliate and torture for their religion. But like religion or whatever we decide to interpret religion as gives a lot of the masses a sense of belonging, a sense of purpose, a sense of direction, and it upscales the importance of mundane things in their lives. Like for example, like Nigeria's obsession with witches. Like, do you really think all powerful individuals that can summon rain, fly, and be awesome are obsessed with whether Junior passes his exams or not? Whatevs. But like, I don't know, and that's awesome things. Like, I don't, nobody knows after we're dead, nobody knows if our soul is really there. And the fact that we are just a fucking vibe, like, you just like, God, even thinking is just beautiful. And the idea of like a lot of things thinking, cows probably think, but I want to eat their flesh. That's why my own opinion is that I am not fine. I'm fine with being murdered. I'm just what I'm not afraid of being. I'm afraid of this weird thing. I'm not afraid of being killed, insofar that it is not long and torturous. I'm not afraid of being killed insofar that it's not long and torturous. I am not afraid, but I'm afraid of death. Like, I have made peace with the possibility of being murdered, but I haven't made peace with the possibility of like dying because like lack of knowledge of what is after. And like because I do not hold tightly to a religion, due to the fact that my human brain refuses to accept like the thing is that even when some shit doesn't make sense, you accept it because it's like accepted guidelines and rules, and this is the place that you belong in. Like in a lot of cultures having human sacrifice, in a lot of like religious doctrines that don't make sense, modern religious doctrines that don't make sense in the modern world, or that is just not applicable to manage an economy that way. And you just do like, sometimes you just don't question it because it gives you peace of mind. It prevents you from falling to an abyss of hopelessness. Like sometimes you're just there like, especially when your situation is horrible, you're just like, did I really come to the earth only to suffer? Is my sole purpose as a human being suffering? That's the kind of issue that you like come across and what have you. What else? I don't know what the sole purpose is. I remember having given this random advice on Reddit and I'm like, I'm just trying to fill up my time. But I don't want it to be like, especially if it leads to starvation. Like that's the problem. I'm always chastising myself on randomly consuming fan fiction and weirdness because I'm like, okay, what am I going to do next? Like, how am I going to eat when I'm 30? How am I going to travel? How am I going to like? Because rather than seeing culture, I want to go on a food tour. Like, oh God, humans make great food. Like all around the continent, all around the world, like all over the world, and I want to be a vibe. And I'm like, that'd be okay, that'd be awesome, that'd be rich. But like that's just stuff to fill up time. Like why do I do the things I do? Like why am I like attempting to learn data science? Why am I attempting to get a job in data science? Why am I think I think for me it's just like to fill my days with to eventually fill my days with comforts and hedonism. Not really hedonism. I think when people think of hedonism, they think of like random naked ass like sex and gluttony and horrible. But I'm like, what about just like the simple things that make you happy? I understand that people have different like cap off points or caps for like what is happiness. Because some people can just have this tendency to go to the extreme. But I think like a good number of people don't. For like for most things in their life. Because there's always going to be that one thing that you would throw everything away to just waste time on. Let's read this stuff. Blah blah blah. I cannot pronounce these German names. The subjective thinker form, and that's one thing I also need to realize about philosophy is like, and I think I've mentioned it several times in the personal code of conduct, is understanding that people's opinions are just opinions. Opinions are opinions, and like my life is too short for me to take anybody's word as the gospel truth, because sometimes I keep saying like, oh, I will only do things according to my conscience, but how was this conscience developed? But I don't think I would ever just be able to justify causing the suffering of others, even no matter how indirect it is. But my country is a living proof and proof of the fact that there are many individuals who are able to like stomach the idea of causing suffering when they do not know the individual. I think the only people we consider really evil are the ones that can cause suffering when they know the person. Like we just profess and say, oh, okay, anybody who causes suffering and damages the society and causes problem for the sake of their own selfish interests or delusions of grandeur, as many human beings have done in like time immemorial. is evil, but like when it comes to us, we often say shit like it's a victimless crime or like rubbish and nonsense like that. Yeah, it has victims. Your shoes have victims. Your everything has victims. It's just be honest with yourself. And I think that's the importance of self-awareness. Be honest with yourself that what you have done is wrong. But you will not change it because it is convenient for you. Like for example, people being like, oh okay, wages in poor countries, or like cobalt on my phone. And I'm like, if I think it's important to write it down. That it, I do I do not care. It's important to write that down. Not that you're a horrible person. No, yeah, you are a horrible person. All of humanity is horrible. But you shouldn't use that to comfort yourself. But you need to know that I'm simply not doing this because I've considered my little life more important than all lives on this planet. But I also will operate on certain limits and understand that I refuse to cause a disruption to society because that is my ethics and my bottom line. Those are my personal ethics. I have a bottom line. Where this bottom line came from, it varies for different people. I think where the feelings of guilt start, some people have no shame, no guilt, no nothing. It will cause suffering onto others. But the thing is that people always have a bottom line. But in what? Some might have zero bottom line in torturing black people, but like or like in the review of the suffering of people in like my continent or my home, like you don't even have to look far. A lot of like Nigerians have very little empathy for Nigerians. Well, it's one quote that I saw in Ireland was like, have empathy for everyone. Nigeria happened to everybody. And it's like, that's the one thing I don't intend to be angry because we all didn't ask to be here. We're just here. It doesn't give me the free right to drag another human being to this world. But if I do, and I think that's coming to my own conversation, because eventually if I'm too weird, because there's a certain level of standout I don't want to be, but if I'm too weird and I decide to have a human being bring out the human being to this world, I need to be very honest to myself that this was selfish. This human being owes me everything, but I owe this human being a lot because I use their existence to appease my own selfishness of my fear of loneliness, my fear of whatever. I use their existence to appease my own fears. But I also need to understand that they are a human who, yes, is valuable, deserves to be heard, deserves to be loved, deserves to be understood. I wouldn't say deserves. The concept of deserve is relative and what have you, but like, no, a human being then in my own in my own conscience, my conscience is not necessarily good, in my own conscience or like in my own bottom line, deserves to be loved, respected. But I also need to understand that I cannot, in quotes, spoil this human being because this person is forming, this person can go south, this person I have to develop I have to take effort. Just because I had this human being for my own selfishness doesn't mean I shouldn't take the entire, recognizing I had this human being for my own selfishness, I shouldn't make the entire effort, the strong, powerful effort to ensure that they are a human being with strong sense of self-confidence, strong self-control. And before I do this, because I know I'm probably going to eventually caving and have children, but like I know before I do this, I have to like imbibe these qualities in myself, so I will be a do as I do parent rather than a do as I say parent. Because I don't know, because the unimaginable guilt, especially if I reach childbearing age and Nigeria is not yet at an upward trajectory, I'm very optimistic, especially like with the motion of like the refineries and our valuableness as a nation. I have like societal optimism. As an individual, I don't know if I'll get hit by a bus, get murdered, or stabbed by the 22nd child of a woman who got married at the age of 12. But I understand that each human life is equally valuable. So I shouldn't, as one thing, I shouldn't be bothered about being killed by another human being, especially even though I feel like the value, my mother has only 3 children, and some woman unfortunately had to start pumping children out. For example, I know this still hasn't gone back to existentialism, but for example, I had this entire conversation, not really a conversation, like it was just people casually mentioning a child marriage. I raised the alarm that this is a child that's getting married. She shouldn't be anywhere near Dick. But do I know this child? I might wake up in the middle of the night realizing that a 13-year-old is getting raped by a 20 something year old or a 30 something year old, and she's going to live with that for the rest of her life and think that is applicable, because in modern day Nigeria 13-year-olds can easily get married. I think I just ruined the audio with my breathing. And the person that told me was just very casual about it. And I was like, oh, fuck. But then again, that's one thing I noticed about middle class Nigeria. We are very selfish, incredibly selfish. Oh my God. And it's like, we try to. I understand that as somebody of middle class Nigeria, we understand. Like, I feel an intense shame that my biggest problem is that I haven't washed my face like today. So I know that I have a couple of breakouts and I'm running out of salicylic acid, and my worry that I wouldn't get a job and starve. There's also that. I'm talking about immediate worries and long-term worries. But there are individuals who have literally had emotional and mental stunted growth due to lack of nutrition from birth. So there's that. Due to a complete and total lack of nutrition from birth and during their puberty years. Yes, there's that. And I have been able to, like, except when I'm aggressively presented with that in my front, like most middle class Nigerians, I'll be able to delete from my mind and have the effrontery and audacity to be outraged when somebody showcases the poorest parts of my country. But my problem is not that they are disrespecting people. Things that, yes, because I've properly looked at it, I understand I have a problem with disrespect of individuals at their lowest point. But the main problem with a lot of us in middle class Nigeria, me just see me affecting, projecting information, emotions onto random people in middle class Nigeria. But like, a lot of our issues is coming with the idea that, oh fuck no, people are going to think that I am like that. It's always centered around I, and not the fact that, oh my God, we shouldn't even have children like this in our society. And I feel like having more opportunity and access to things and just vibes is going to reduce the amount of starving children. It's going to reduce the amount. But like, I have so many lofty plans that I keep forgetting. I have so many jotters that I feel like. I remember when I was crazy about carpentry and epoxy. So like, I think constantly adding things helps me get away from what's the word? From the fear of it all being pointless. Oh my God, how weird. Blah blah blah. Oh yeah, and I just randomly read, like, I didn't read, I just listened to some guy review the I have no mouth yet I have to scream or something. Existentialism is humanism. Man first of all exists, encounters himself, surges up in the world, and defines himself afterwards. The more positive therapeutic aspect of this is also implied. A person can choose to act in a different way and to be a good person instead of a cruel person. Yes. Why? And I think what makes your belief strong is beyond the fact that you ask yourself why. And I feel like my desire to do good is my fear of instability. And I feel like I should amass power so I can stop instability. I think that is just, it's a selfish in itself, my fear of instability. Um, Jonathan Weber interprets satires usage of the term essence not in a modal fashion, i.e., as necessary features, but in a teleological fashion. Teleology. Because when I see T and ological, I just think theological, but like it's like as in telepathic or like far away, teleological fashion. And essence is the relational property of having a set of parts ordered in such a way as to collectively perform some activity. For example, it belongs to the essence of a house to keep. Oh, the whole point of something, the whole reason. Oh, okay. Why you have your features? Why? So their existence precedes their essence. This is just a whole vibe. We don't know why we're here, but we choose our essence. We decide why we're here. Because, like I said in the hope something, it's like I have, give or take, like 60 years left. Give or take. Like, I have give or take 60 years left if like my country doesn't collapse, or if I don't get like if I don't like break under the weight of depression, or if everything doesn't just go wrong. I have give or take 60 years. I'm 23. Let's just say I have give or take 60 years more. And I want to feel those 60 years, that the dread of like finally switching off is not going to be as, like, I don't know, as irrationally scary, because I understand why humanity is that we come up with so many religions, and we don't like, and we like the idea of a possibility of moving beyond death, because look at us, like the fact that we can think, we can feel, we can emote, and the fact that we can tell other people, like that. I think the key thing is the fact that we can tell other people. It's just, do you really want to die? Do you really want this amazing, fabulous, awesome entity to die? Like, how dare you? So it's like understanding your own insignificance, but like that's what I think I mentioned this on the podcast before. Like, yes, you as an individual are insignificant, but the human race, being a member of the 7 billion of us, is special enough. Because we're fucking amazing. I still think we should throw the entire species away because we're kind of crazy. But like, we are awesome. All of us. Like when I see like young children just like randomly plaiting hair, like like beggar children just randomly plaiting hair or just vibing, I'm just like, that's the problem I have with like wealthy middle class. It starts from the middle class. They have this illusion that just because somebody is lacking in a lot of things doesn't, it means they lack a certain level of complexity of emotion. Yes, you might not have the words. That is the thing. You might not have the words, but the emotions are there in all their layers and all their glory. Just because you have fancy words does not make you the better person. You just have the words. You just have the words. See me screaming out that my ideology is the end. We're so far from stoicism. I know the reason I say we started from stoicism, we moved on, but the foundation of my thoughts is, I feel like you need everything. Stoicism on how you react to situations, nihilism on the essence of the entire world, existentialism on the essence of your existence, Ubuntu on your place in society. And I think in Ubuntu and existentialism, Ubuntu provides an answer for existentialism in the sense that I find that my answer for my existence is stability. Stability, a hint of hedonism, and creation. Stability. Yeah. Stability. Stability. The notion of the absurd contains the idea that there is no meaning in the world beyond the meaning that we give it, which is also optimistic nihilism in a way. This meaninglessness also oh my god, it's like I really like the vibe when I go off on a rant and it just aligns with when I start reading like the wiki page. This meaninglessness also encompasses the amorality or unfairness of the world. It can be highlighted in the way it opposes the traditional Abrahamic religious perspective, which establishes that life's purpose is the fulfillment of God's commandments. This is what gives meaning to life. To live the life of the absurd means rejecting a life that finds or pursues specific meaning. Oh my god, I have found my kin. Haha. Has been. Oh, okay. The possibility of suicide makes all human. I remember having this conversation with a dude at 16, and he came to the conclusion that he wishes suicide wasn't such a horrible thing. That it feels like it could be a legitimate, oh fuck it, I'm sick of everything, bye, I'm not doing this anymore. The ultimate hero of absurdism lives without meaning and faces suicide without succumbing to it. I feel like I could exist without goal, because without goals is hedonism, unless you decide, because that's the question I have for like this whole proponents of the absurdism theory. Remember that knows nothing about philosophy. I'm a random engineer turned data scientist who has a podcast called A Personal Code of Conduct. Why am I doing that? Oh god, my voice sounds so fucking awesome, but like you guys won't hear everything because I'm using a fucking phone. I should get a mic as my upper month's gift to myself. This month is going to be a graphic tablet, and upper month is going to be a mic, and I'm going to sound gorgeous. The ultimate hero of absurdism lives life without meaning and faces suicide without succumbing to it. The thing is that if you live your life without meaning and you decide not to do anything, you decide because in the end, if you say that what is without meaning, deciding to drown in hedonism, that is the meaning you've given your life to enjoy as much as possible. Deciding to create, deciding to because if you decide that you have no meaning and you lay down and you just exist, eventually you will starve. Because even somebody who exists to eat, yeah, they might eventually die of obesity, but for the short period they were here, they existed to eat. I don't know. Because if you just lay down and decide, I will live a life with no meaning, with no purpose, then you will just lay down and you will cease to exist. But who cares? Next is facticity, being and nothingness in itself, which generates for him. And that's one thing I like. I feel like a lot of things need to be philosophized because we must never look down, even though they are no longer in favor. Like how I was talking about Andrew Loomis and other stuff. I will always love the way he looked at people, but I have come to the conclusion or to the assumption, it's probably assumption because I never knew you guy, that I probably was not one of those people in quotes that he looked at. He really looked at as a black African. So, and understanding that doesn't make him any less of a great artist. Remember, this is just bullshit assumptions based on like limited works I've read. He could probably be a friend of us, a friend of like African Americans. I'm not African American, I'm African. And the thing is that even in the eyes of like a lot of African Americans, I don't think people consider individuals who live in poor countries as people. I think that's what one thing that leads to a lot of fears of individuals desperately hating the the presentation of a poor African child. Yes, there are people that poor. Do you want that to be the poster child of your existence and the sum of your existence of your entire nation? Hell no. But yeah, some people are going to present it as such, and it's up to you if that bothers you enough to push for more narratives. Also, I really like Shion Okimi and like just her general vibe in Nigeria. She showed like really poor people, showed middle class people, she showed relatively rich people, and that's okay. That's fine. Okay, we're in facticity. Which delayed? Oh yeah, I remember what I wanted to say because it was started in 1943. I feel a lot of things need to be re-philosophized and not necessarily true anyway. We need to have respect for these people, but we should also need to understand where they are coming from. A lot of people that define themselves like as a man in Europe, you have a people that have gotten to a point where certain segments of society can be free to sit down and think. That doesn't make you better than somebody who has to work 20 hours in a factory or is getting blown to bits in a war zone. In fact, that kind of makes you worse because you had all this time and free time to think, oh my god, now that you're feeling of shame and guilt. You had all this free time and you don't have to work, you didn't have to work so hard and burn yourself to ashes in the beating sun. And is this what you come up with? Like, the delusion that you are somehow better than somebody who is a productive member of society. Really? Some people are so trapped in monotonous lives, unfortunately, because they don't have time to think and they have to sit down and complete tasks in factories or in offices. Does that mean they lack the whole complexity of thought? Human beings, no matter where they are complex. It's not like, yes, they might present a one-dimensional character to you, a one-dimensional, but they are complex. They have the full range of emotions, but like I said before, they might not have the words. But yeah, let's go back to facticity, modalities, which instead delineate humans and the modality of being and not being. Having a human body, one that doesn't allow a person to run faster than the speed of sound, identity, values. Plasticity is a limitation and a condition of freedom. It is a limitation in that a large part of one's facility consists of one thing that someone did not choose. Like, I accept that I am Nigerian. because I feel like understanding your starting line. Sometimes it's easy for me to just like drown, and the biggest fear that, oh, I wish I was. But you need to understand my starting. The fact that I have the nerve to identify the things I do not have means that my starting line is not rock bottom. So like I'm grateful. Like you don't have to be like tied to a religion to be grateful. It's just like this is my starting line. Do I want to stay here or go up? And that is fine. That is fine. My limitations. In this world, I don't think there are real limitations unless depending on what circles you are. And I think it's something that you can just, for example, depending on what circle I am, my gender might be a limitation. Depending on what circle I am, my race might be a limitation. Depending on what circle I am, my what's the word? My economic background might be a limitation. But then again, in that kind of vibe. But that's the one thing. There's some things that may never be opened up to you because you're just not born in that strata of society. But like you have 60 years. You if you want to put all your energy in breaking, that's cool. But also accept that if it fails, that's fine too. Like just make sure you have other things that you don't fall into like a pool of regret or something. Authenticity involves the idea that one has to create oneself. That hence the personal code of conduct. I think I'm going to settle down and read more on existentialism, opposition to positivity and rationalism. Existentialists oppose defining human beings as primarily rational. Nope, we are not. And I feel that's why I've been mentioning the whole things like because the more rational you are, the less human you are, in my opinion. Religion. Existentialist reading of the Bible would demand the reader recognize that they are an existing subject, studying the words more as a recollection of events. That's one thing. This is contrast in looking at a collection of truths that are outside and unrelated to the reader, but may develop a sense of reality or godhood. So this why the reader is not obligated to follow the commandments. So why do I not steal? Why do I sometimes not later? Because I believe in the greater possibility of stability. Because I am threatened by the possibility of instability in my nation. So I want stability. Stability for all of humanity. I hope like if we don't collapse ourselves, I swear humanity deserves one government, one world, one everything, and we deserve to colonize the what's the word? We deserve to colonize um the solar system, and maybe at least in my lifetime. But like I'd imagine what it'd be to be a young stargazer moving through planets and be like, that's normal. That's always been normal. People just move between planets in a slingshot and what have you. I'll probably read more on existentialism, read more on stoicism, read more on nihilism, read more on optimistic. But I think I should do it in a more like notes action plan fashion and say, will I do this? Will I not do this? Will I do this? Will I not do this? Why am I against it? Or my whatever? But like I said, sometimes I just lay down and read fan fiction. So it has been a personal code of conduct. Dio has rambled on about the Wikipedia on existentialism, and yep. That is all. And it has been fun, relatively. Should I put music at the end of this? Nah, it's fine.